As you saw in part 1 of this video series, the history of the Antichrist is quite extensive throughout Western civilization, and it played a major role in the formation of modern society. And you saw that not only did Catholic theologians and intellectuals identify the papacy as the Antichrist, the founders and original confession of faith of virtually every historic Christian denomination on earth, with complete unanimity, did as well. Or that the reason this history was suppressed by the History Channel was because the History Channel itself was actually run and managed by people who had very close religious and ideological ties to what had been known in that same history they suppressed as the Antichrist. The second lie was the claim that the concept of the Antichrist was simply a superstition borrowed from Zoroastrianism. And ironically, it was not the prophecies concerning the Antichrist which were the superstition which came from Zoroastrianism at all. It was the very thing the History Channel was attempting to defend and promote in its documentary, that being the practice of Christmas. Even before Christ was born on the earth, Jewish rabbinical tradition had already compiled a rather significant body of literature concerning the identity of the Anti-Moshiach, what Christians later called the Antichristos. None of this, however, was covered by the History Channel. Instead, what the History Channel attempted to actually do with this historical information was to spin doctor it out of existence and relevance. That this doctrine is targeting prophetically the religious leader of the Roman Empire at the time of the New Testament, known as the Roman Pontifex Maximus. In Jewish tradition, the name of the Antichrist was said to be Armilus, and this name is actually very significant prophetically, because it is doing the very same thing in Hebrew that we find the New Testament writers doing with the name 666. Precisely and exactly the same thing historically. By using the name Armilus, Jewish tradition was identifying the Antichrist as the religious head of the Roman Empire, or in other words, the Pontifex Maximus, by title. And 666 would be translated as the Roman prenomen name, Sixtus. And repeating the value 3 times means it would be Sixtus III. He was the most important pope who ever lived, and most Christians have never even heard of him. Only the founder of militant Catholicism, or in other words, burning people at the stake as heretics, but as the actual founder of the Holy Roman Empire, the beginning of the Papal Empire in Europe. On December 26, 2005, the History Channel aired a documentary on the history of the Antichrist. The only problem, of course, is that it actually avoided the history of the Antichrist. There are not too many major turning points in the history of Western civilization that have not been formed or affected as a direct result of the history of the Antichrist. The History Channel set forth 3 explanations to American audiences, in order to essentially give them the impression the Antichrist was only something in theology at the end of the world, that the idea was probably nothing more than a simple common symbol for everyone's personal sins among early Christians, and that it was an old superstition in Christianity borrowed from Zoroastrianism's dualistic beliefs in good and evil, never even hinting there has been an entire millennium of history surrounding this topic, or that the history of the Antichrist has found its way to the center of virtually every major historic event we know from Western civilization, in one way or another. virtually unknown to most Christians today in America. The vast majority of Christianity, which goes by the name Protestant or Evangelical, is actually neither. It is a substitute religion raised up by the Vatican, through money from corporate America, to substitute both of these historical movements with something known as the quote, Counter-Reformation, end quote. All the most famous celebrities on your TV are not by accident, all Counter-Reformationist frauds. Virtually all of them without exception. They do not even embrace the confessions of faith of the very denominations they claim to be part of, or represent. They are out and out, theological frauds. And unknown to most Christians in America today, billions upon billions of dollars is spent every year, to do nothing more than simply hide the identity of the Antichrist from the public, through these dedicated sources. So obviously, this is all a very big deal, indeed. The third lie, in which the History Channel exposes itself in, is the attention it focuses on the rapture doctrine, rather than actual history of the Antichrist. The reason being, of course, is that the rapture doctrine was invented by the Jesuits during the Counter-Reformation, as a way to shift the identity of the Antichrist, away from the papacy and place it outside of human history. So it will effectively no longer exist. As long as the definition of the Antichrist is anything within history, the identity of that entity will inevitably fall on the most obvious candidate of its fulfillment. The Vatican addressed this PR problem by creating an explanation of the concept of the Antichrist as something that has already happened and is non-Christian. This is known as preterism, or the Jesuits' second diversion, that for Antichrist is something that happens at the very end of the world, so that its definition and existence is no longer relevant. This doctrine was termed the rapture. Both doctrines invented as lies and spread as lies, simply to justify and excuse the papacy in Rome from its prophetic criticisms found rather blatantly described in the New Testament. This video will now address this third lie that the History Channel used in order to actually hide the history of the Antichrist. A very large and significant history that stretches across the timeline of Western civilization for over 1,000 years.
That will make Hitler and Stalin pale in comparison.
If you're looking for the Antichrist, you look for somebody who's very attractive, very articulate, brilliant, someone who would know many languages.
Hal Lindsey Report. And now, Hal Lindsey.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of the Hal Lindsey Report. Actually, tonight we're going to do part 2 of Global Government Rising. We started this last week. And this has to do with a group of people who are seeking to bring about a one-world government. They are a group of international elitists, and such groups as the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations is CFR, and the Bilderberg Group, and others like this have been working feverishly behind the scenes for many, many decades, seeking to bring about a one-world government. This first person comes out of the sea, and in the imagery and the symbolism of the book of Revelation, which is also used in the rest of the Bible, a restless, turbulent sea is a picture of the nations of the world in unrest and conflict. Well, out of this conflict of the nations of the world arises this one that Revelation 13 calls the beast. But he is a world ruler who's going to be unveiled that will come out of the remnants of the old Roman Empire and culture. Now, this man is going to receive a mortal head wound. And the word means a fatal head wound. And the man is going to be miraculously raised up from that head wound. And it is this miraculous raising to life again that's going to give him immediate world prominence on a scale never before seen. And he will come to Rome, and out of Rome, he's going to rule. Now, I call this man the Roman Antichrist. The second personality is introduced in Revelation chapter 13, verses 11 through 18. This second person works hand in hand with the first. This second person says rises out of the land. It's translated earth, but Tesges in this context means the land, and it's in contrast with the sea. So as the other one rose out of the sea, this one rises out of the land, and in context this refers to the land of Israel. which confirmed that this man will be an Israelite. This man will rise and begin to show the same kind of miraculous powers that are given to the first Antichrist. And he is going to use those great satanic inspired powers to bring attention to the first Antichrist. But one of the most important things about his job, and one that fits right in with the things we studied last week, is the fact that he is going to cause all people to worship an image of the Roman Antichrist.
ربنا بيقول لك انا قريب منك وانت حبيبي وانت معايا وانا معاك. انا كده ولا نعمل اي غلطه ولا نشتم ولا
And he requires that everyone in the world worship worship him. And to prove that they are a follower of him, he introduces an economic control that is ingenious. He requires every person on earth to show their allegiance to this Antichrist by receiving a mark that will enable them to buy and sell. Now let me read that particular part of that prophecy to you and show you exactly what this means. In Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 through 18, it says, he causes all the small and the great, the rich and the poor, the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead. And he provides that no one should be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast. For the number is that of a man, and his number is 666.